Okay, let's talk about something we've all faced. You know the one. That conversation you know you need to have, but you keep putting it off. The one that just makes your stomach clench thinking about it. Well, today, we're going to break down a practical framework to turn that dread into a clear, actionable plan.
So why is that? I mean, really, why do these conversations feel so impossible? Are you afraid of the conflict? Worried you might wreck a relationship? Or maybe you just feel like, I'm not wired for this. This is not who I am.
Well, here's the single most important idea we're going to talk about. Most of us think it's some kind of personality flaw, right? That some people are just naturally good at this stuff. But the truth? It is not a personality problem. It's a skills problem. And that is fantastic news, because you can learn skills.
So let's dig into that idea. When we say it's a skills problem, what are we actually talking about? Because it's not just one thing you have to get right. It's a whole bunch of things, all at the same time.
It's 7. A tough conversation asks you to have 7 different skills all firing at once. Think about it. You're managing your own nerves, trying to read their emotions, picking the perfect words, actively listening, all while trying to steer this thing toward a resolution. If just one of those skills fails, the whole thing can go sideways.
That sounds incredibly complicated, doesn't it? Juggling 7 things at once when the pressure is on feels like a recipe for freezing up. So how in the world do you manage all that in the heat of the moment? Well, here's the trick. You don't. You don't try to juggle. You use a playbook.
And this is that playbook. It's a repeatable 5-part framework that gives you a solid structure to lean on. It turns what feels like a chaotic, emotional storm into a series of clear, manageable steps.
And here are the 5 phases. You prepare, you listen, you deliver your message, you de-escalate if things get heated, and then you close it out. It's like a roadmap. You figure out your destination before you get in the car, you listen to the other person, deliver your point, navigate any bumps in the road, and make sure you actually arrive where you intended to go.
Now, to make this super practical, we're going to zoom in on 3 essential tools to get you started. One for preparing, one for delivering, and one for de-escalating. Honestly, these are the heavy hitters that will give you the most leverage right away.
Tool number 1 is all about that first phase, preparation. This is the conversation planner. And let me tell you, this is a total game changer because most tough conversations fail before they even start. Why? Because we walk in with these vague, fuzzy intentions. This tool forces you to get crystal clear on your specific goal, your non-negotiable boundary, and your concrete ask.
All right, tool number 2 is for the deliver phase. This is the feedback script generator, and it's built around this really powerful little acronym, SBI plus A. This structure is basically your secret weapon for being direct without being a jerk.
So let's break that down. S is for situation. When and where did this happen? B is for behavior. What did the person specifically do? I is for impact. What was the result of that behavior? And A is for ask. What do you want them to do differently next time? It is a simple, beautiful formula that strips out all the judgment and just leaves you with clarity.
Now that B for behavior, that's the magic right here. Look at this. Our natural tendency is to attack someone's personality. We say things like, "You're disorganized." But the skill is to describe an observable behavior. You sent the report 2 days after the deadline. See the difference? One is an accusation, the other is just a fact. And sticking to facts is the key to preventing the whole conversation from blowing up.
And that defensiveness, it is completely predictable. You have to understand this. When someone feels attacked, their brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, it just takes over. It's called an amygdala hijack. Their defensive reaction isn't really about you, it's just pure biology. The whole SBI plus A model is designed to avoid triggering that response. But what if it happens anyway?
That brings us to our third tool, the if X, then Y ladder. This is for that de-escalate phase. Since you know defensiveness is a real possibility, you can actually prepare for it. You can anticipate the predictable ways someone might push back, like blaming someone else or getting emotional, and you plan your response ahead of time, so you're not trying to wing it under pressure.
And here are some of those pre-planned responses. Notice what they're doing. They are not about winning the argument. They are about managing the emotional temperature in the room. A simple, non-confrontational phrase like, "Help me understand your perspective," or "I can see this is frustrating," shows that you're trying to understand, not just attack. And that can lower the tension instantly.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. When you reframe this whole thing as a skills problem, not a personality flaw, and you use a structured framework with these kinds of tools, you can completely change your experience.
You move from a state of panic to a state of having a plan.
And this is so important to remember. The goal here isn't to become some kind of robot who feels nothing. The anxiety might still be there. The goal is to feel that anxiety, or that frustration, or that fear, and still have the tools and the structure to choose a productive response anyway. That, right there, is emotional regulation.
And if you take away just one thing, let it be this. That feeling of panic, it just comes from uncertainty, from not knowing what to do. The feeling of confidence comes from having a plan. The tools we just talked about, the planner, the script, the de-escalation ladder, they are your plan.
So I'll just leave you with this question. Now that you're armed with this framework and you know this is a learnable skill, what's that one difficult conversation you've been putting off that you now have a plan to tackle?